Hello, welcome to Nintendo Deep Dive. My name is Carl, and for this video, I am doing another edition of Show and Tell with Nintendo games. And what we'll be doing for this session of Show and Tell is Nintendo Wii. Now, last Show and Tell session featured 3DS games, and most of those games I had on digital, in a digital capacity, that is. But for the Wii games that I'll be showing off, 98% of those are physical, so I'll just be showing off my physical collection of Nintendo Wii games. And additionally, while for the 3DS show and tell, I did a longish preamble on the system itself. I will be forgoing that for my Wii collection for the sake of time. Though I will say that the Nintendo Wii has a much bigger library of games than people give it credit for. And personally, while it's not my favorite system, I really do enjoy the Wii ethos and just the system itself. It certainly was a mistake to make the system as weak as they made it. There was nothing about motion control gaming that required the Nintendo Wii to be less powerful than its competitors. But even so, there are actually more than a dozen or so games on the Wii system that are real lookers. More than a dozen, as a matter of fact. But we're just going to jump into showing off games now. So the Nintendo Wii was released on November 19th, 2006 in the States, and for a launch game, we in the States, or North America, I'm from Canada and still live in Canada, but in North America we received Red Steel. This game isn't all that well regarded. It made a few too many mistakes with the Wii IR camera aiming, such as being quite sluggish for a game using the IR camera. But while I haven't played too much of it, I am actually excited to play more of it, even completing it, as it seems to have more to offer than people give it credit for, and I give it credit for. Also, this is a really good piece of box art. I wonder if it's aping Kill Bill, or, well, I don't know if Kill Bill actually looks like that, but there's something Kill Bill-ish or Quentin Tarantino-y about this box art. Though I make that statement on the basis of nothing. So we're just going to put that there. And also a launch game. November 19th, 2006, we got Rayman Raving Rabbids. Now, it's my understanding that this is a repurposed 3D platformer, or this was originally a 3D platformer, repurposed into a party game with lots and lots of mini games. And while that makes many people who are fans of Rayman upset, understandably so, the basis, oh, hit my own camera, the basis of the aesthetics and the atmosphere, the all that groundwork they did for a single player game, it actually gives this game a really strong, coherent aesthetic, despite the fact that it's eclectic in gameplay. It's a mini game collection, but it does really have a coherent audiovisual style. So while it's unfortunate for those who wanted another Rayman platformer that it was a minigame compilation or a minigame collection instead of that, that turn in development actually does benefit the final product to some degree. And what I've played of this game, it's actually quite enjoyable. Still on the launch day of the Wii, we got a title from Nintendo, Excite Truck, which is essentially part of the Excite Bike series, but now featuring trucks. I have a horrible shadow coming from my ring light. That's unfortunate. Well, what can you do? There we go. It's a little less obvious. Yeah, Excite Truck is a spin-off of Excite Bike, but instead of being these isometric arenas, it features actual racetracks and is just a more conventional racer, similar to how Excite Bike 64 was a more conventional racer. Though, while I use the word conventional racer, I was really trying hard not to say eraser there. I flubbed it. Anyway, this game is not all that terribly conventional, as while winning, getting first place will net you a lot of stars. The real way to get points and to get first place is to do tricks and get air and to do other high octane maneuvers such as weaving through trees or crashing into vehicles. It's definitely a launch game, quite simple, and the graphics are not all that much to look at, but the gameplay is kind of awesome. And I particularly like throwing myself into the air off a jump with these trucks and just hanging out there for as long as possible. And that is the joy of Excite Truck. I don't know if I'd call it underrated, but maybe unduly forgotten. And so, still on launch day, we got Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. This game, while not my favorite game in the world, I really, really enjoy it. And it's everything how shall I put it? Everything an action adventure game should be or could be. That is what Twilight Princess is to me. It's got very enjoyable combat and engaging puzzles, cerebrally stimulating puzzles as well, and a interesting world to explore, though some people would contend that, but that's okay. It has an interesting world to explore and very memorable characters and a engaging enough story, though the game really is about gameplay first and foremost. And overall, just a super solid meat and potatoes Zelda game with a really cool, interesting aesthetic. Somewhat criticized these days, but everything's just so lived in Twilight Princess with the look they gave it. And we're not out of launch day yet. Oh, I guess we are. Still in launch window though, going into December. Konami released Elebits, which it's got some great box art here. Elebits is a game which I haven't played, but my understanding of it is it's like a physics simulator game where you grab things with the IR, with a reticle controlled by the IR camera of the Wii remote, and you shake them and pull on them, and they reveal these little critters. And it's not a very long game, and maybe not particularly deep. And its manual is black and white, which is disappointing, seeing as the cover's so colorful. But by all indications, this is a very good game. Simple, but very good. The spines on the Wii cases, they're a little unadorned, but they do have these nice logos with different fonts for each one, which I enjoy, as you can see as I stack them. And then I may be missing a game here. Still in December, I have to look. We got another game called Metal Slug Anthology. Which I may have to dig out here. Excuse me. Okay, we are back, and I have dug out Metal Slug Anthology. Also some really strong case design here. This was put out by S&K, I believe, and it features all of the Metal Slug games that were available in arcades and maybe on the, I don't know if it was the Neo Geo something. It was that very expensive console back in the 90s. But aside from that console, the very expensive one, whose name eludes me, Metal Slug games were not available outside of arcades. Not these ones anyway. And now they are available. And that's pretty cool. I haven't played any of them. They look really good. They have great sprite work. And yeah, it's cool to have these games on console. They were also available, or this collection was available on the PS2. But apparently there's frame rate issues or something like that. And so this is the definitive way to play these games on console. So a very nice release, and early on in the life cycle of the Wii as well. I have to set it right at the bottom, otherwise it won't stack at the top. After Metal Slug, still in December of 2006, we got WarioWare Smooth Moves. Considered the best WarioWare by a number of people, and it might be, though I have a soft spot for micro games on the GBA. Wow, look at that menu. WarioWare Smooth Moves is one of those games, like all WarioWare games, where it is funny in a way that it seems only games can be funny. I love this manual cover here, and I enjoy that it isn't just the same as the box art cover. Really nice stuff here. But yes, this is one of the best WarioWare games. Not sure if it's the best. And, this pink cover, it's really growing on me. And overall, just a great WarioWare game and a legitimately funny game. And one that really showed off how much fun the Wii gesture controls could be, even if it was actually optional. How the game used them was sort of optional, the positions that you'd put them in, but still a lot of fun. And, it still showed off how much fun that controller interface was. So after WarioWare, getting into 2007, we got Wii Play. Now, Wii Play was a pack-in game with a Wii remote, I believe for $50. So this was essentially a $10 game. And if you consider the fact that this is a $10 game, it's actually $10 well spent. Much more shallow than Wii Sports, and also not having that broad demographic appeal as well. And yes, I actually do in fact not have Wii Sports in my game collection. But I do have Wii Play, which Wii Play, this game right here is fun, and this game right here is a lot of fun. Everything else, if anything, they're great vibes. Not particularly deep, but the entire package is sort of a great vibe, and it's only $10, so can't really judge it too harshly. Though I think I spent maybe 20, which is a bit ridiculous. So, as I said, I don't own Wii Sports, even though it did come with the Wii that I got in 2006 on Christmas Day, which That's actually quite fortunate considering the shortages. Sorry, certain words get jumbled up on my tongue apparently. Considering the short supply of Wii Wii hardware, that is quite fortunate. And I played Wii Sports for maybe a week or two after that, and I have never touched it again. In fact, I enjoyed what I played of it, but I haven't touched it again, and I don't know where that copy is, and I don't have my own copy. So I have Wii Play. Now, after Wii Play came out in February, also in February, we got SX Blur, which has this very beautiful case. And SX Blur is a snowboarding game. I believe it's built around using the motion controls of the Wii naturally, though it's my understanding that this is actually a bunch of hills and slopes from older SSX titles, just given a new coat of paint. I haven't played one lick of this, but there it is. I will say the cell shaded art style does look appealing. And then skipping into April of 2007, we got Super Paper Mario. You know, I'm not a huge fan of turn-based RPGs, so the fact that this game is actually a 2D side scroller with real-time action. Well, that was actually a very exciting notion to me. Unfortunately, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of this game, though it does have really good writing and a good story and some pretty good music as well. But I actually enjoyed it less than other Paper Mario games, which is unfortunate, though maybe I didn't give it its proper due. But the big thing with this game is you can go from 2D, like so, and then spin it around into 3D to see a 3D environment. Super cool in previews, but the idea really doesn't pick up from there. That is what it is. Sorry. I have glasses of water here. So after Super Paper Mario, in June we got Big Brain Academy Wii Degree. Now this was a budget title. I believe it was only $20. But for that $20, you actually got a fun party game based on simple logic puzzles. I like the heft of this case, actually. It's very hefty. And I'm very impressed that so many of these menus are colored. In the latter half of GameCube's life, the manuals started being black and white for many games. Though the images aren't necessarily great. I haven't played this game either, but I'm really looking forward to playing it. And that's a great font right there. So, after Big Brain Academy, we got Mario Strikers Charged, which came out in July. Also, a Nintendo Selects case, which I didn't realize I had so many of these close together, though it makes sense as Super Paper Mario and Mario Strikers Charged are early games in the console's life. Speaking of beautiful covers, this hardline sketch style, whatever you want to call it, super great, and it really shows off the personality and attitude of Mario Strikers, which you can still see some of it here, even on the case. Mario Strikers Charged. What a game. This game is awesome. It's kind of like the sport of it, while it is soccer in vague resemblance. It's more like rollerball, completely violent and ridiculous and dystopian. It's essentially a blood sport game that has Mario in it, and it is hilarious, and there's so much personality, and there's lots of great music for each player, and great animations, and the sport itself, whatever you want to call it, soccer, football, the vague resemblance of that, really awesome. This is a great game. Phenomenal. Okay, and as you can see here, we have, for every Nintendo Select title, we have this little crown. So after Mario Strikers Charged, we got this little beauty as well. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Nice font on the side there. Not my favorite Metroid Prime game, but if you play the games in order, it really serves as a great finale to that trilogy. A little more, how would I describe it? A little more fun and flashy than Metroid Prime, the original. Not necessarily as deep in gameplay, but yeah, a little more approachable and, well, flashy, I guess. Can't really think of a better way to describe it, though. For compared to other first-person single-player games, it's still pretty deep with its puzzles, and its atmosphere is fantastic. Great atmosphere. Sky Town is beautiful. Same with Brio. So definitely maintaining, or containing rather, lots of substance, but it's a little lighter than the previous two games in terms of puzzles and navigation, I would say. And the Wii controls that they're showing off here, they couldn't be adjusted, which I guess would be a shame, but Retro Studios, they had them dialed in perfectly. So, no shame at all. Really good Wii remote controls and aiming. So, after Metroid Prime 3, we got this game that I haven't played at all. Zach and Wiki quest for Barbarossa's treasure. Nice artwork. Nice artwork on the back too. I have not played this game a lick, but that's a nice manual. But I will say that the one thing that's really appealing about it is how the areas that you're in, I think whenever you're in an interior area, the one side of that area is cut away to show the insides, like where you are. And it kind of looks like a dollhouse almost. And that's very nice. I really like that level structure. Though, gameplay wise, it is essentially an adventure game like Monkey Island, though instead of pointing and clicking, though you will be pointing and clicking, I imagine, there's lots of gestures that they want you to do with the Wii Remote controller. So, after Zach and Wiki, let's hope I have everything in order. We got Battalion Wars 2, which the original Battalion Wars came out on GameCube, and I would argue it is the stronger title. Though Battalion Wars 2 is still a fun time. I particularly like the IR aiming with your anything, the tanks, the soldiers, the vehicles, the people, whatever. The IR aiming's really good. And the amount of different things that you control in this game is super impressive, as it was when the series was created. Just the premise of all these different vehicles and the scale of everything. You can have like 30 things on screen at the same time, and you can control any one of them as you please and give simple commands to the rest. Really cool. And it even had multiplayer, as shown by this Nintendo Wi-Fi connection logo. But it's been shut down for some time now. After Battalion Wars 2, we got Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Now, I love Fire Emblem games, but I have not played this one. If you're into more hardcore Fire Emblem games, though, with more focus on strategy and limited grinding, then this is your game. Very, very strong in that regard. Ooh, that's a beefy manual. Oh. It's actually a direct sequel to Path of Radiance. I look forward to playing that. And that came out November 5th of 2007, with Battalion Wars coming out in October, and Zack and Wiki also in October. I should state that I am showing these games in chronological order, though I have not stated the release dates of those last couple. And after Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, we got a game that's maybe a little more well known, and that is Super Mario Galaxy. Fortunately, I think I put a chair leg on this case, and there's a little dent. My apologies. And this is also a Nintendo Selects game. This is, in terms of presentation, the zenith of Mario games. And presentation aside, a lot of fun to play, super creative. This game, like most Mario games, even though I'm not the biggest Mario fan, I'm definitely still a Mario fan though. Mario games are Nintendo flexing. They're basically saying that they have something that no other company has, and that's the best level designers basically in the world, I'd imagine. Because this game's level design and concept design and the dynamics between how the level is designed, like the moving pieces, like literal dynamics, I guess, really in full force in Mario Galaxy. It's a nice case. And then the music, of course, for this game in particular, is a marvel. Still looks good today. As well, and sounds good too. Naturally. So that was released in November of 2007. And then, also in November, we got Medal of Honor Heroes 2. I haven't played this game, and I've heard varying things about it. But the thing I hear about it is that it has really good IR aiming. And I love IR aiming in shooters. And that's why, even though these games will look no better than GameCube titles in many ways, I still look forward to playing them because IR aiming is just awesome. Comes with a few drawbacks, such as getting the camera to turn effectively, but the fact that I'm actually aiming and there isn't aim correct or auto aim, whatever you want to call it, with my aiming, fantastic stuff. So I look forward to playing this. Okay, got our stack going up there. And I imagine on the same day that, well, no, I'm a little ahead of myself. After Medal of Honor Heroes came out, on the same day we got, and I'll just have to find it here, if I can find it. Here we go. We got Tomb Raider Anniversary with exclusive Wii features. Really nice, bright, how would I describe it? Nice bold colors. Or, I don't know if bold's the right word, but I like this cover, the white of it. And I normally don't like such generic stuff like that. I don't know if this game is very graphically impressive, this particular Tomb Raider, but the one thing it does have over the other console versions is that you can use the IR camera for aiming, whereas other Tomb Raider games from the go, and maybe this is just a staple that people actually prefer, have lock-on aiming, which maybe this game has a fusion of the two. But if I can just use the IR camera, that will make me happy. Definitely a graphical downgrade from its other console counterparts, but given all the puzzles and the action adventure nature of this game, I'm excited to play this on the Wii. Um, yeah, maybe not the best example of a multi-plat, but far from the worst. And after Tomb Raider, we got Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles, which I only own that digital, so came out the same day, and that is a light gun game that's purportedly very good. And then, still in November, busy November in 2007, we got The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess again, but not actually. Link's Crossbow Training, which is a light gun game built from the assets of Twilight Princess. And the game, the big thing that it was essentially a pack-in, and it was packed in with this number right here, the Wii Zapper, which is just a shell to make the Wii remote and nunchuck feel more ergonomically approximate to an actual gun for your light gun game. So, kind of a silly product, but because it came with Link's Crossbow Training, which is actually a decent light gun game, for $20, definitely worth the purchase. And if you're into light gun games, then, well, maybe just generally a good purchase overall. It is just plastic, though. But that's okay. Speaking of light gun games, just coming out a day after in November, giving you an opportunity to use your Wii Zapper mold, we got Ghost Squad, which is a Sega arcade game ported to the Wii. And my understanding is it's a bit silly, but it's a very good light gun game. A bit campy, but yeah. And any game that uses the IR camera, I'm definitely excited to play. And yes, this is not the original case, but it doesn't look too bad in black. So that's Ghost Squad. So after Ghost Squad, still in 2007, we got another game from Sega, and that is Knight's Journey of Dreams, a sequel to Knight's Journey into Dreams on the Saturn. I have not played either, so couldn't really tell you much about the game, but it's supposed to be kind of a visual journey with lots of flying and stuff, and probably a nonsense story, more than likely. Anyway, I was told that it was a good time. Stack's getting pretty high there. We might need to start another one. And then after that, we got in January of 2008 another kind of visual journey game, Endless Ocean. And I haven't played this game, but it has this beautiful Gaelic soundtrack, and even though the graphics are soft and not necessarily realistic, there's something about the ocean in this game that looks very, very appealing. Ooh, beautiful disc art. And I look forward to playing this game whenever I get to it. It's kind of just a chill game. Okie dokie. Hmm, may need to start another stack. So after that, we got, what did we get? Just making sure I have the right box. We got No More Heroes. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the best box art on the Wii. I mean, it's got a lightsaber going into the foreground. And this stark contrast between this character and the white, and how it plays off the white logo of the Wii. Fantastic. This game itself is a very, very good time. It's essentially a commentary on something. What that is, I'm not sure, but I have an idea. I think it's about the idea of wasting time in a video game to get to the parts you like. And this game represents that by giving you menial jobs to do until you actually get to the big assassinations that you do in the game. And in a way, it's almost like art imitating life, as in our everyday life, we are essentially doing a lot of work to then, go back and actually do the things we want to do, if that makes sense. Or to maintain the things we want to do, our houses and our food and our hobbies. So No More Heroes, fantastic game. Well, not fantastic, but very, very good. And that's some banger case art there. Though I'm not sure we actually looked inside. Oh yeah, nice bold red on black. Simple but effective. Yeah. Black and white manual though. And that was an exclusive for the Wii, as many of these have been. And then after No More Heroes, which came out in January, with Endless Ocean, in March we got Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Also has really good box art. And like with the 3DS version of Smash Bros. 4, I enjoy seeing Link in the foreground. A small thing, but I like it. This game, while maybe not the best Smash Brothers game, it has the most coherent art style of those games. In that not coherent, cohesive, I guess. In that it's going for almost a Revenge of Meta Knight for a continuation, Revenge of Meta Knight from Kirby Superstar. Very Western, very, well, not very, but a little dingy and gritty, while still being cartoony and having little dogs that cover up your screen and Pokemon and Sonic. Um, yeah, it's got a very cohesive art style across the board, across all of its modes and single players, and it features the Subspace Emissary, which is the most ambitious they ever went with the Smash Brothers single player. And the keyword being ambitious. Got Meta Knight here, just flying in. A very good game. I really do enjoy this Smash Brothers, and my enjoyment of Smash Brothers was at its peak with this game. It's got a lot of good modes too. Stage builder, which is simple but very intuitive, and I made a lot of stages on it. So that came out in March. And then after that, I'm looking at this and I think my titles are all scrambled. After Smash Brothers Brawl, we got Mario Kart Wii, a game that would essentially sell 30 million copies. Not my favorite Mario Kart, not by a mile. And I have it in this very dingy Wii U case. But the box art for Mario Kart Wii is actually quite pitiful anyway, so that's fine. This came out in April. So you had Nintendo's two biggest multiplayer games coming out very close together in 2008, which I'm sure made very many people happy. But I really actually don't have much to say on Mario Kart Wii other than that. It's an alright game, certainly. And after Mario Kart Wii, in May, we got Boom Blocks, which I think I have to find Boom Blocks here. Some of these are very, very buried. I think we're going to have to leave Boom Blocks be. Alright, I cannot find Boom Blocks at the minute, but Boom Blocks was a game that I believe Steven Spielberg collaborated on alongside EA, and it's a party game where you throw things at structures to knock them down, almost like Jenga or Tower something. I think it's Jenga. Supposed to be very, very enjoyable. But after Boom Blocks, or on the same day, rather, we got Speed Racer, the video game, which is based off of the movie. And I believe I checked to see if there was a movie ticket voucher inside, and I did not find any. So this is based off the movie, which is based off an anime, I believe, or a manga. I bought this game because this is, in fact, a very good racing game on the Wii. Though apparently, the DS version might be better. It uses motion control steering, and it has this thing where you do combat moves against other cars to knock them out of the way. And it's very colorful, kind of reminds me of Rainbow Road and Mario Kart, just with every track. It's supposed to be a very good racing game on the Wii, which the Wii does not actually have that many. So, and after that, we have Wii Ski, which almost looks like a Nintendo game, but it's actually done by Bandai Namco. Well, I mean, looking at their faces, you can tell they're not Mii's, but in action, it can be difficult to see when it's behind the back as such. This is a game that I haven't played, but the one thing that I do really like about it is the slopes you're on. It's essentially almost like an open world slope, and you're just taking on different challenges in those places. I don't think it reviewed particularly well, but people actually really like Wii Ski as a casual party title. And I really like the world that it's set in, the resort. And after that, in August, so there was not really too much going on in the summer, apparently, on the Wii in 2008. But in August, we got Mario Super Sluggers. Not a very engaging backside. But we do have a baseball, or a disc in the likeness of a baseball, so that's very nice. I have not played this game, but apparently it's very good. Maybe not as good as its predecessor on the GameCube, but both baseball games, both the Nintendo Mario baseball games, are very good, and I look forward to playing them when I get my hands on them. The arenas in these games look really nice to play on, and just nice to look at too. And that has been essentially the last baseball game Nintendo ever made, aside from the one mode in Mario Sports Superstars. After that, in September of 2008, we got Star Wars Force Unleashed. I believe this came out day and date with the other consoles, and the other consoles look very nice, just as this image here looks very nice. The other consoles look nicer than this game, but this is actually, I think, the preferred way, or the preferred version for people who are fans of this game. The main reason being that I think the boss fights are much better designed, and the Wii remote controls are very enjoyable, the Wii powers that you get. This is in yellow, and I wonder if that's like a brand thing. And this game was developed by. Oh, I thought it was developed by Red Fly, but no, it's developed by Chrome Studios. And they did a very good job on it. And this is a great example of a multi-plat on the Wii where they really utilize the system's strengths to cover up the weaknesses of the system, the graphical ones specifically. And after that, just a few days after in September, we got The Blob, which I believe it's an exclusive. But I'm not sure. It was developed by THQ. It's a game where you find yourself in a monochromatic world, and it's your job to add color to it against the wishes of an evil regime or something like that. I haven't played it, but I know it has a lot of style and is supposed to be quite good. Oh, that's interesting. That little pamphlet in there. After the Blob came out, same day, actually, never mind, we got Wario Land Shake It. And this game is beautiful. It's done by Goodfeel, who would later do Kirby's Epic Yarn and Yoshi's Woolly World and so on and so forth. This game, beautiful art style. It almost looks a little like Cuphead, its art design. But otherwise, it is a platforming game with Wario, and Wario's signature moves are all included. And it's interesting having a protagonist whose main driving force is greed. He's really a funny guy, that Wario. Oh, knocking the camera. Sorry. So I really enjoy this game. It has fantastic music. And I particularly like in the second phase of each level where you are running away from the antagonist or his impending arrival, rather. And you get shot out of a cannon, and if you're smart, you can basically maintain all of your speed from that, and it becomes much more fast-paced than the initial run through the level. And that's the big thing with it. I think that was introduced in Wario Land 4. Probably the best Wario Land game. I really doubt Wario Land 4 is going to be better than it, but we'll see. And I may have to play some music tracks over this from that game, just to give you an example of how good the music is. So after Wario Land, my stack's getting a little short here. We got 007, Quantum of Solace, though I believe that name is a misnomer, as it's actually mostly centered on the events of Casino Royale. I bought this game because while I think it was considered quite average, an average game with IR aiming is going to be a good game, or at least a very fun one. So I needed more games with IR aiming, and an average shooter has potential for sure. I mean, it's hard to say how good it will be. And after that, we got Rayman Raving Rabbids TV, which I believe is the third Raving Rabbids game. And this one is purportedly the best, featuring really good mini games, some including the balance board. So, yeah. I know people don't like this series, but I think it has some potential. Shame about those manuals though. So yeah. TV Party. Looking forward to that one. And that came out in November with Quantum of Solace. And after Rayman Raving Rabbids TV, we got our second and potentially last Tomb Raider game, which I'm currently scrounging for. There we are. And that is Tomb Raider Underworld. I think a much better looking game on the Wii than Tomb Raider Anniversary, and maybe just a better game overall. From what I've heard, haven't played it, but by all accounts, I should be looking forward to playing it. In many ways, it actually has some advantages over the other console versions because it's very much a 6th gen looking game with lots of 7th gen effects added to it, which maybe obfuscates the what we really want to see, just the general art style. And what we really want to see is Lara Croft's navel. So when you have lots of sparks and underwater bubbles, we can't see her navel, and that makes us upset. Anyway, all jokes aside, definitely the Xbox 360 and the PS3 version are the best looking. But this game seems to be more optimized for this piece of hardware and looks really, really good. And purportedly is a very good Tomb Raider. So that's Tomb Raider, which came out in November as well. And then after that, coming out in December, we got this very odd game called Mushroom Men: The Spore Wars. And this game is essentially a new IP. It's an exclusive. It's got some accolades on the front here. If we can get those. Best game for the Wii since Mario Galaxy. A franchise is born. And it's in French too. Perfect. Now, I believe this was developed by thought it was developed by Red Fly. All I see is Bink Video, though. If you can see from the back, this game actually has a really cool, somewhat dark cartoon, Secret of Nim. I don't know. Secret of Nim, Don Bluth art style. Not really, but as a loose approximation, it does. And it's a platformer with some combat elements. And it looks really good, and people say it's very good. And it's this world where you're a mushroom warrior, and therefore everything around you is very, very large because you're a mushroom. And I don't know if there was ever another Mushroom Men game. There may have been on the DS, but this is supposed to be quite good. With a nice dark fantasy art style. Then after that, we go into February 5th of all things. 2009 February. And what we get is Tenchu Shadow Assassins, which I'm scrounging for right now. Found it. Sorry about the banging. So this is a game developed by, it's published by Ubisoft. It's great box art, but it's developed by, it's very little. From Software, of all people. And this is not people's favorite Tenchu game because it has some invasive Wii remote controls. But by my estimation, this is a game on the Wii that looks as good as your typical mid-gen Xbox 360 game. Like, it looks really good. And it's a stealth game, like the other Tenchu games. And I love a good stealth game, and it seems like the stealth is pretty solid overall. Just with some Wii remote motion control sword fights thrown in occasionally, which I can definitely live with those. So this is Ubisoft's other serious game I've seen, and they also published No More Heroes, and you can see that Ubisoft really likes red. They like the red color coding for their games on the Wii for some reason, and I'm fine with that. Looks really nice. And yeah, that came out in February. I haven't played it, but I seem to think I'm going to enjoy it. So that's Tenchu, and after Tenchu, I dropped all of my Wii games the other day and they got jumbled. But after Tenchu, just a few days after, in February, we got a game. There we are. I'd have these in my lap if they'd stay. We got Deadly Creatures by THQ. And This is supposed to be a very cool game. Like Mushroom Men, you are in a giant world because you're an insect, either a scorpion or a tarantula. And you move around that deserty world as those. And you attack other creatures, lizards, bugs, other arachnids, and the Wii remotion or remotion, that's not a word. The Wii motion controls are supposed to be very good. The Wii motion combat. And it's just a really cool, kind of gritty, dark fantasy game. And it's got Billy Bob Thornton in it. So you really can't lose. And after Deadly Creatures came out in February, in March, we got Mad World, which was developed by Platinum. Great case, or not case, great box art. And this game is a monochromatic beat 'em up where the only color that exists is the color red for all the blood. And I haven't played it. It's very short, which these days I'm very fine with short games. Don't want a game overstaying its welcome. And yeah, you do brutal KOs on people in this prison game world. So, done by Platinum, so the combat's no doubt going to be very good. Nice chainsaw logo there. Looking forward to that one. And after that, we got. Well, we didn't get that one. Or that one. Or that one. There we go. After that, we got Monsters vs. Aliens, which is a multi-plat game and a licensed game. And I really enjoy Monsters vs. Aliens. It was such a silly movie with a lot of really great jokes and a super great cast as well. And a game based on that is supposed to be quite good. I'm definitely on board with that. It's a cooperative 3D action platformer game, I believe. I imagine with the different monsters you do different things. And yes, I called Reese Witherspoon a monster, which is harsh but accurate. Yeah, Monsters vs. Aliens. I need to play that with somebody. My fat hands are knocking things to and fro. After Monsters vs. Aliens, well, I found Boom Blocks, which is not what I'm looking for. We got the game Excite Bike, or Excite Bots, which is a very, very cool game. Though I don't actually have the case. I just have it in a Wii U case, so I'll talk about it later if I find it. It's basically the same as Excite Truck, except some differences, some key differences. And that's why I don't have things on my lap. Oh well. Um, anyway, after Excite Bike or Excite Bots came out, we got Klonoa, which is a remake of the original Klonoa on the PlayStation. Never was a terribly popular franchise, which is unfortunate, though you can play GameCube with a GameCube controller on it, so that's cool. This game looks really beautiful, like the original Klonoa. It features 2.5D in a way that actually really uses it. So you'll be moving around these big objects, and as you're moving left or right, it's winding around a tree or a building in that Klonoa fashion. It looks really good. The art style on the Wii. I actually had to pay a hefty price for this, as it did not do well. But I suppose I just wanted to play it. And yeah, that's all I can say about it. You can get Klonoa, that version of it, on the Switch for a much more reasonable price now. So after Klonoa, which came out May 5th, and Excitebots came out in April 20th, the game Punch Out came out, which I don't own a physical copy of. I owned it on the Wii U. Very awesome game, Punch Out. So that's all I'll say about it. And I've gone through my one stack of Wii games for the moment. So this would be a good time to take a break, and we'll continue on with my Wii collection, with my show and tell of my Wii collection in part 2. So be sure to click on part 2 when you're done with part 1. Thank you.